Perspective on Florida Gateway College Television is sponsored by Potash Corp of White Springs. Potash Corp, helping nature provide.
And welcome to Perspective. This is a public affairs presentation of Florida Gateway College. My name is Mike McKee, and my guest on the program today is Vanessa Jackson. She is the development manager for the March of Dimes in North Central Florida. We're going to talk about some changes that are going on with the local March of Dimes and how their fundraising efforts are kind of shifting, but shifting to the good. We'll do that when we come back. Don't go away.
School psychologist, and helping people was my thing. After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak, and I appreciated it very much, the attention that was given. My name is Julius Gaines, creative writer, poet, photographer. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Welcome back to Perspective on Florida Gateway College Television. Vanessa Jackson is the development manager for the March of Dimes of North Central Florida, and she's here to talk a little bit about some new programs, some new fundraising activities that are going to take place starting this year. I know that November 16th, 17th, 18th, around that time every year is when we do the Signature Chefs auction, but that's all changing.
Yes, it is, Mike, and we're actually really excited about the changes.
Let's talk a little bit about them.
Okay.
Well, for those who are unfamiliar with the March of Dimes, you do two events every year. Do
Yes.
one in the fall called Signature Chefs Auction, which was an auction, and then restaurants throughout the community would come and do their meals. There was a band, there was dancing, there was fundraising, and then there was another event in the spring, which was the March for Babies, which
Correct.
So talk about the changes that are going to be going on with the March of Dimes. We're kind of doing away with the fall event somewhat.
Okay, well, basically what we're taking the Signature Chef event, and as in everything in life, there is a season for everything, and we feel like this season has kind of come to an end. So we are going to be doing another event as a thank you, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment. And we're basically going to be focusing all of our energy on the walk, which will be May 5th. 2018, and we're going to actually bring a lot of the things that were part of Signature Chef to the walk, such as having a picnic park and bringing the chefs to the walk site and having food available for the walkers afterwards. This is something they do at the big Gainesville walk, and we're going to bring that here to Lake City. It's going to be a very big family affair, so we're excited about these changes.
Let's talk about the changes. The Signature Chefs auction started out as a thing called Miracle on Marion, which was done at the old Blanche Hotel through Tucker's Restaurant. Tucker's had a restaurant inside the Blanche. You walked in the lobby of the Blanche. There was a restaurant straight ahead in the second floor. They would decorate, and it was an opportunity for people to get one-of-a-kind things for Christmas.
Yes.
Including you could buy your own decorated Christmas tree.
I've heard many stories about this. I was not personally involved at that time, but I've heard many, many stories about the decorated Christmas trees and the auction, and what a wonderful time Signature Chef was.
So it started out kind of as a small thing to do and buy one-of-a-kind gifts through the auction process. Correct. There was food provided, but it was through the Tucker's Restaurant. In fact, I remember one year Bobby Goldsboro, who was a singer back in the late 60s, early 70s, lives in Ocala, actually was a host of this here at as what it was called was Miracle on Marion. And it's kind of evolved. It's moved around. It moved to Roundtree Moore Toyota.
Correct.
And what they did is took all the stuff out of the dealership, and they brought all the Signature Chefs in, and you could get any kind of food you wanted. If you were in the mood for Chinese, they had Chinese. If you wanted barbecue, there was barbecue. Then it kind of shifted again and moved to the
Armory.
National Guard Armory.
Yes.
We'll talk about that. That's when you kind of got involved in there a couple of years ago.
I did. Actually, last year, I'll call myself the understudy to Luana Hoffman, as most people know her. and was just learning and very excited to do that. In fact, I think I was on Perspectives for the first time last year talking about that event. We had a great event. And afterwards, got together with our staff and just talked about how best to take the March of Dimes forward in our community, and really felt like we wanted to focus all of our energy on one large event per year. We listened to our sponsors and our volunteers and felt that was the best decision going forward. So although we are sad to see the Signature Chef not having that anymore, however, taking some of the things that made that so special, bringing them to the walk, I think will benefit everyone.
Now you were mentioning to me that everybody is trying to raise money for their favorite charity.
Yes.
And it seems like you're going to the same sponsors.
Yes.
Talk about how sometimes that can be uncomfortable, that people feel like they're giving and
Absolutely.
giving and giving and giving and giving, and
Well, and there are so many wonderful charities out there, so many wonderful places where you can put your dollars. But as charities, we're all kind of competing for the same dollars. And when you have to go back to a sponsor who's just giving you something for Signature Chef, but you're needing sponsorship for your walk, which is just a few months later, when they've just given, and then you have to walk back in there and ask for, even though you feel like what you're fighting, the cause you're fighting is a wonderful cause, it's still difficult. And again, there's just so much money, as any business owner can tell you, that they give towards those things. So it's just better to be able to ask once a year, I believe.
So what you've done is you've shifted gears, sort of, and you've got a special event happening on the 16th of November.
Yes, we
Talk a little bit about that. It's kind of like Signature Chef's Light.
Yes.
Can we say that?
Absolutely. I'm very excited about this. Our leadership team has decided to call this Purple Out for Preemies. And the reason we're doing that is November is Prematurity Awareness Month. And so on the 16th, we will be purpling out for preemies at Roundtree Moore Toyota. And it is going to be a thank you. It will be a thank you party for all of our past sponsors, our past volunteers. There will be a few live auction items. There will be cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, appetizers. We do have 3 chefs coming in to cater to do that. But we are very excited about that and really want to show our appreciation for all the many years that people have sponsored this event.
Now, what are we talking about as far as auction items? Are these big items? Are these big ticket items? We're not auctioning a car off or anything.
No, I wish. No, we're not doing that. And we are going back to Roundtree Moore Toyota for this, where, some of the biggest Signature Chef events were held. There will be a piece of jewelry from Ward's Jewelers, probably a vacation package, a chef package, things like that.
Yeah, I know some of those vacation packages, a weekend away or a week at somebody's condo in Destin, or I think there was some Volano Beach,
Yes.
right on the beach.
Yes.
And then the one thing that I thought was really kind of neat was the restaurant that they would prepare a 4-course
Yes.
meal at your house. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, we're very excited to have that again, and I know in several cases business owners have bought that to use as an employee appreciation. Several times that's happened as well, and they look forward to that, and it's a great way to kind of take that worry off your shoulder, get that taken care of. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, whenever you're hosting a party and you're having to do the preparation, it's kind
Yes.
of like you really don't have time to be a
Right.
good host.
Correct.
Because you're preparing food or making sure that the drinks are
Yes.
there. And I guess if you wanted to, if you plan on bidding on this event and you don't get the deal, you could maybe negotiate with
Absolutely.
someone out there, and their
Absolutely.
business may make out.
And I've talked to several of the chefs who have been involved with Signature Chef, and their businesses have taken off because of the exposure and the publicity that they have received from the Signature Chef auction.
Well, and it's good. You know that there's always going to be an Olive Garden, or there's always going to be a Texas Roadhouse that everybody knows about. But if there's a small
Yes.
and this would be an opportunity. I know in the spring it'd be a great opportunity for them to participate and
Absolutely.
with the walk.
We'd love to have them.
Now, this is, are you looking for sponsors? Is someone sponsoring this?
No, we're not looking for sponsors for this event. However, if you would like to fund the mission, we have certainly a donation card available for that. We will have an incubator set up and an opportunity for you to have your picture taken as you deposit your fund the mission or your check into the incubator. So we're trying to fill the incubator for the preemies. World Prematurity Day is the very next day on the 17th. And we're asking all businesses in town that can to light up purple, because purple is our color. So we are trying to, again, bring awareness to preemies in this month and the day, the 17th.
You know, sometimes I think the mission, or the March of Dimes, what they do gets lost in the
absolutely.
act of fundraising.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to remind people this will be part of that on the 16th. But let's remind people about the March of Dimes. You said earlier before we got on the air, this is the 80th year, or 2018 is going to be the 80th year of the March of Dimes, which I assume started as a collection for kids.
Yes.
They would collect dimes.
Yes.
And they would bring them to school.
Yes.
And that was where the March of Dimes came from.
It is. However, it started, and we've been on and talked about this many times before, for polio. President Roosevelt obviously suffered from that, and that was what he wanted to find a cure for. And so that's what it started out as. And I had an opportunity actually 2 weeks ago to speak to the principals here, talking to them about having a walk at their schools and raising funds. And the two things that I had them, I'm going to call them the takeaways for you teachers out there. The two takeaways I gave the principals were, not many organizations can say that they found a cure for the original epidemic that they were raising funds for, but the March of Dimes did, and that was polio. And so from there, now we're raising money for prematurity. However, the other thing is, I don't think most people realize that the March of Dimes actually touches every baby. It's not just prematurity. If your child had an APGAR score after they were born, that was funded through the March of Dimes.
And the other is the heel prick, correct?
Yes, correct. And one more thing actually is that mothers taking folic acid, again, was researched, and that prevents neural tube defects, which are almost non-existent now.
And so getting the word out to expectant mothers, or mothers
Yes.
who are trying to get pregnant,
Yes.
they need to know this information. All this
Correct.
information was developed through the research of the March of Dimes.
Yes.
And so that's another part of what the mission is of the March of
Absolutely.
Dimes. Now, I understand surfactant was developed.
Yes.
You want to talk a little bit about that? I know what it is, but I think our viewers
Sure.
don't.
Yes, and that's something that premature babies get that helps with their lungs, because when they're born premature, their lungs are underdeveloped. And so surfactant is something that helps babies breathe and helps their lungs with moisture in their lungs.
Now talk about, and you may not know the exact statistic, but there are more children born premature in our area than people think.
Yes, and actually, Florida this year got a C on its report card for prematurity. And so we have actually gone down a little bit, so we want to work on that. And March of Dimes has a lot of local funding too, to bring education not only to healthcare workers, but to moms, expectant moms. And for example, one of the latest things that's come out is birth spacing. And that's something that we're trying to educate moms about as well, because when you have them too close together, that can be a risk factor for prematurity.
Now, you have two children.
I do.
One is pretty famous, Tori Jackson, who
Yes.
was at Party in the Pines.
Correct.
And you're a mother, so going through the labor process and
Yes.
having a healthy child is
Yes.
one thing, can be
Yes.
traumatic at some points. But when you have a premature baby,
Yes.
talk about the emotional situation that a mother is going through. Now you've got a premature baby that's in jeopardy.
Yes, and the fact that you may have to leave your child, you don't get to take your child home from the hospital when you go home. I can't imagine, as you said, I had two full-term births, and they were healthy babies, and I didn't experience that, but I have toured the NICU and as well know several moms who have dealt with this, and like you say, the emotional toll on the mom, the dad, if they have other siblings at home, and mom's staying in the hospital and so forth, the whole family, and not only the emotional toil, but as well the monetary toil on the family. Because a lot of times then mom has to be out of work or dad has to be out of work. It's just all the way around. It's a very difficult situation.
And so the March of Dimes does a lot of support.
Yes.
And again, I think the best way to describe that situation is you're not alone.
Absolutely.
At Shands and EQ, you've got people there that deal with this all the time, and the March of Dimes folks
Yes.
are there with you, which is also kind of in the back
I
of your
heard-
mind
yes.
really helpful.
I actually heard an example of just this the other day. I was speaking with Judy Ripple here in town, and her grandson had had problems when he was born. And she was telling me that when she went in to see her grandson for the first time, the March of Dimes NICU support was actually going to visit at that exact same moment. And that was why she supports the March of Dimes, and is why she's so appreciative of what we do.
Now, Vanessa, there's still research going on into causes and different medicines that can help these premature babies. But the volunteer is part of it. The mission is part of it. It's all
Yes.
part of making as comfortable as a situation
Yes.
you can be.
Yes, and as well, they also have a website called shareyourstory.org, and I know 120,000 people just last year visited that online community that connects families that are dealing with this and dealing with a premature baby in the NICU, and again, makes them feel not so alone.
Okay, let's shift to the next event that's coming up. In addition to the event that's going on, Purple Out for Preemies on the 16th, you also have the walk, which has been going on all across the country for many, many years, at least 80 in some places. Talk about the differences that are going to take place on May the 5th.
Correct.
And I don't want to say May the 4th, because you could get a bunch of Star Wars jokes.
Yes.
So
Well, and
just
of course,
think of the May the 4th. The next day is the March of Dimes.
exactly, and we need the force.
Yes.
So
hopefully the force will stay over on the
yes,
5th.
well, and I had forgotten that also that's Cinco de Mayo. So yes, it ought to be a great time. We will have a bouncy house for the kids. We've had face painting last year. We will continue to bring that back. We have demonstrations by Lake City Dance Arts, Sepulveda Karate. We will have chefs out there feeding us. We're very excited about that.
You are gathering chefs as we speak, correct?
Correct.
You're getting as many as you can, because you like
Absolutely.
it to be a big event downtown.
Yes, and having it be our 80th year, we are very excited about that and want to show off what the March of Dimes does, what we stand for. So we want to have as many people and walkers out there as we can.
Now, you said you encouraged elementary schools in
Yes.
Columbia. Do you hope to have 100% participation in
I
all
would
elementary?
love to do that. Last year we had Pine Mount Elementary and Westside Elementary participate, which was so exciting. Pine Mount won the trophy for bringing in the most funds, but this year I was able to speak to all of the principals at all our schools here in Columbia County, so I would love to have 100% participation. You know, I cover Putnam County as well, and they have 100% participation, so I know we can do this in Columbia County.
Now, are they doing their fundraisers on their own at their school, or are they getting teams together to actually march?
They can do either, but what they've done in the past is they raise money there at their school, and then I come in and we do a walk at their school, but they raise funds through, maybe they bring $1 and they can wear a hat or a silly hat day. They do multiple fundraisers, they sell candy, things like that. So
Now, if you want to do a team,
yes.
how does one go about it? Is there a website that they can register? Because I think that's where everything is going now, is to the
Yes,
to
obviously,
internet.
yes. They can go to marchforbabies.org, but as well, if they come to the Purple Out for Preemies, we will have lots of registration forms there as well.
Okay, so you're not much of a walker, but you still want to participate. How can people participate? Can they volunteer?
That would
Or
be great.
Can they make a cash donation without having
Yes.
to walk?
They can do both.
Okay. So the first event, which is the one we're trying to promote and hope that you can make it to, is the Purple Out for Preemies. It is Thursday, November 16th from 5:30 to 7 at Roundtree Moore Toyota, the big indoor
Yes.
superstore, as they call it. And you can get more information by emailing Vanessa at vjackson@marchofdimes.org, or you can call her, bother her on her cell phone. She'll be glad to take your call, 406-0808. And again, the second event is the one that is going to be the major fundraiser for the March of Dimes, and it is a Walk for Babies on the 5th of May, which is easy to remember, Cinco de Mayo. You can do whatever you want after the walk.
That's exactly
If
right.
you want to do a margarita after the walk, be more than happy to do that. But it's the march, and they were going to have a big signature chef type event is it downtown, or are we at the stadium?
At the Darby Pavilion.
Darby Pavilion on Lake DeSoto on the 5th of May. And wish you the best of luck with this new configuration of the March of Dimes. I know it'll be successful. I know you'll raise a lot of money for the March of Dimes. Hope you will give to the March of Dimes however much you can, whether it's through the volunteer process or cash donation. Vanessa, thank you for being on your second debut. Your second debut on here on Perspective. Great job, and thank you for watching Perspective here on Florida Gateway College Television. Until next time, I'm Mike McKee. Good night.